Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So I want to start off this one talking about what a lot of you people out there, you, our Evolutionary Energy Arts family, are sharing about the animals and the wildlife that's so disconcerting. You know, it's really very, very sad. One of our good family members, she owns a ranch in Missouri, and she's just saying that there's no more frogs, there's no more turtles, no more amphibians at all. She's noticed strange behavior where deer in the middle of the day will go in and just hang in her barn, you know, just like seeking shelter from the sun. So my wonderful people out there, thank you for sharing this so much, although it is so disconcerting to see what's happening out there in nature. And this is from our own Andrew, who is in Omaha, Nebraska. And Andrew shared a lot with me over the last several months for sure. And so he just comes upon a rabbit just sitting there right by his car. And it just seems to be almost stunned. Acting really strange. You know, so I'm wondering, is this UV? Is this something in the chemtrails? Is this something geomagnetic going on? Is this, you know, something to do with perhaps, you know, an earthquake coming, or, you know, is this part of the pole shift? You know, is it what's going on with the animals? For one, they do seem to be taking shelter from the UV, and as Andrew shared this, you know, there are so many trees that are dying. I mean, they're just dying from the UV. Apparently, it seems that it's the UV that's killing so many trees out there.
Hey, Michael.
So this is from Andrew as well.
You can see nothing actually looks this blue. It just must be the camera lens, but it is just a white haze thicker than I've ever seen it before. And a lot of USAF activity going on. I don't know if you hear the rumbling in the background, but my God, dude, look at this.
See how hazy it is? So, you know, obviously there's been a lot of chemtrails spraying. I was noticing them this morning. And it seems like they're changing the altitudes now. There's some high altitude going on, but there's also a lot going on way lower altitudes than I've ever seen before. I think they are spreading different stuff now. And, you know, yesterday it felt like the sun was just incredibly intense. I mean, so intense. Now today, I went out a little bit earlier, and you know, the sun was really bright, and it wasn't really being shielded by clouds, but it didn't feel as intense. It was really odd. And then they came in and started spraying their chemtrails at like 11:30, and then it did feel a lot more intense after. So, you know, I don't trust anything with what they are spraying up in the clouds. Not at all. You know, you know, if you followed me, I think there's many agendas going on at the same time, and I don't trust anything. And you know, it just hit me. Maybe what they're spraying is actually accelerating the whole process on purpose. You know, perhaps. I'm just throwing it out there because it just hit me today. What if they were doing the opposite, and they're saying, you know, that they're doing this unofficially, you know, to protect against global warming, you know, and then maybe we start to think, as we figure out the grand solar minimum puzzle, oh, well, you know, magnetosphere is declining, so, you know, maybe this is all about just simply protecting us from the UVs as well. But perhaps what's going on is actually maybe they're creating the whole thing, and not protecting us from the UVs, but causing the intensification of the UVs through whatever it is that they are spraying up there. And maybe it's not just aluminum and barium. Maybe there's something else going on with this as well. And very, very, very suspicious, as are most of you. And actually, I posted that last video saying where the MIT study says that, major change in 2020, and by 2040, life as we know it's over. And if this was a couple of years ago, people would be saying, "Oh, you're just a fearmonger," "Oh, yeah." But you guys are all saying, "Hell, we don't get even close to that time." It's just look at the comments. Everybody's saying, "Nah, we don't even have close to 2040." Are you kidding me? It's happening so fast right now. And then I was just having discussions with a very good friend and saying, this whole thing that's going on, right? We know there's been so many different civilizations here. We can see the relics. And they span, tens of thousands of years, perhaps millions of years. I mean, there's manufactured spheres, metal spheres that date back to like 2 million BC, 2 million years ago. So, what if some of the survivors of those advanced civilizations, even an advanced civilization like Atlantis is supposed to be maybe 25,000 years ago, right? And if they had high tech, what if just a small remnant of them survived? If you change the wording and say the Book of Enoch from fallen angels and just simply say they're survivors of a cataclysm, and there was, say, 200 survivors of a cataclysm, they would look at us like we were Neanderthals or cavemen, or, at the very least, like the Aboriginal tribes that you might see in, say, the Amazon rainforest, and think, wow, they are so uncivilized and everything. So what if, some of the leftover people from these civilizations are really the ones that are doing all this? Maybe it wasn't even ET related at all. Maybe that's all part of another bigger scam and another big false flag misdirection. Just think, if there were some survivors from, say, an Atlantean cataclysm that maintained their knowledge and their high technology, they could appear to be as gods, just like extraterrestrials could as well. And they could manipulate people, just like, look at the conquistadors arriving over there in Mexico, and then using their technology with the weapons, for just several hundred conquistadors, can bring a whole, country of tens of thousands to its knees if the technology's right. So, that was just another thing I was just thinking about, thinking, well, what if the whole alien thing, and I do believe in extraterrestrials, I do think there's lots of life out there, but what if, the extraterrestrials actually obeyed, say, a prime directive like they have in, say, Star Trek, of non-interference? And this was simply, leftover vestiges, power-hungry people from previous civilizations that maintained all their technology and their knowledge, and thus were able to control and manipulate the rest of the population of humans on the planet. So, I don't know. I was just throwing it out there as another idea, just in a discussion with a friend. As we look at unprecedented floods in the Indian tourist hotspot, killing dozens, 40,000 evacuated, and that looks rather futile, bailing that out. And you have to feel so horrible for all these people around the globe. And again, it just makes me think, what's the total number now of people that are refugees? Look at this flooding. That's the top of a building there, or a house. It's like, I wonder how many refugees really are there around the globe right now. As we see more and more people, riding their boats down Main Street everywhere in the world, it's just incredible. So over 400 rescue workers from the National Disaster Response Force have been deployed to help with this effort in India. And India's been just hammered, absolutely hammered. Massive floods kill 6 people and displace 59,100 and affect in all total 1.1 million Filipinos. As we see more and more of the flooding, heavy monsoon rains, this is Tropical Storm Yagi that we were talking about. It's caused deadly floods once again through Manila and other areas, and you can see, again, boats, invest in boats, and several of my friends down here in Florida have said, hey, we're not laughing anymore about it. You might actually really, it just makes sense. You're going to need it. I mean, this is a street, and these guys are chest deep. It's crazy what we're seeing everywhere, and really this is just kind of year one of what's coming. More monsoon rains expected August 13th. They shouldn't be as strong as the ones that started on the 11th, but still, you add it on top, and it just doesn't end. Now we have the closest asteroid flyby of the year. 2018 PD20 flew past Earth at less than a tenth of a lunar distance. That's getting close. This newly discovered asteroid flew past Earth at the very close distance of 0.09 lunar distance. And this was on August 10th. And this is part of the Apollo group of asteroids. Its diameter was between 29 and 65 feet. And so a really close call. It's the 39th known asteroid to fly by Earth within 1 lunar distance since the start of the year, and it's the 40th discovered, including 2018 LA, which was discovered some 8 hours before it hit Botswana on June 2nd. So be very, very aware of all this. There's definitely signs that we're going to be in for a rocky road ahead with all these asteroids, as well as all the other things we're seeing with the flooding. So, the timing on this, you just got to wonder, how many humans would it take to keep our species alive? One scientist's surprising answer is 98. Given the threats posed by asteroid strikes, coincidental timing again, pandemics, and the like, it's not an idle question. And, gosh, I forget what the name of this movie was, but yeah, they were off to go repopulate the world in a different location, or repopulate a new world. In recent years, astronomers have found thousands of planets orbiting nearby stars, making the old science fiction trope of world's colonies seem a little bit less absurd. But it was the 2016 discovery of a potentially habitable Earth-sized planet around Proxima Centauri, the nearest star after the Sun, that really got people thinking. Are we too vulnerable to asteroid strikes and other cataclysms to stick with just our planet? Could we safeguard our species by sending a space ark to a new home, a la Battlestar Galactica or the movie Passengers? So yeah, that was Passengers, I think. Frederick Marin is among those who are doing the hard thinking. The University of Strasbourg astrophysicist has been focusing not on the engineering issues of interstellar travel, which lie beyond current technology, but on the biology side of the question. How many crew members would be needed for an interstellar voyage that might last dozens of generations? In other words, what's the minimum number of people required to deliver and successfully plant a self-sustaining population of Homo sapiens on another Earth? And so basically his answer, according to his computer, the magic number is 98. Just 98 healthy people would be needed to operate a ship over many generations and to set up a healthy non-inbred population on another world. The number holds for even his test case of a space ark mission having more than 6,000 years, although it allows for the population aboard the ark to grow over time up to perhaps 500 people. The implications of this finding go far beyond the sorts of spaceships we might be able to build in another century or two. I wouldn't say that. Our results apply to any enclosed environment where emigration and immigration are not possible. The same elements are essential for any self-sustaining colony, so our code can easily compute the survival rate of a group of humans after a local or global catastrophe as well. So it's an interesting thought. And now we're being warned about cash machines that can be mass hacked in a global cyber attack. It's interesting how we always get warned of things like this just before it happens. So the FBI has warned international banks that their cash machines could be mass hacked. Not a good thought. Doesn't make you feel nice and secure, does it? Well, it's just one more thing for us to keep our eyes on. And so we'll see if something like this manifests shortly in the future, now that they've brought that to our attention. And George Orwell warned us of the most dangerous types of censorship, which we are seeing now. The enemy is the gramophone mind, whether or not one agrees with the record that's being played at the moment. The big tech companies are now openly censoring popular viewpoints and deleting select social media pages who supposedly violate community guidelines. And there is, of course, never a detailed explanation why companies like who and who else delete user-generated pages. And so this is the waking times, and so theirs was deleted in 2017 for no apparent reason. And their FB page has been throttled down to almost no reach. And there's no reasonable way to appeal for the reinstitution of these pages. Actually, you can never talk to anybody, and that's the fact. There's no talking to a human. There's no humans to be talked to. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It's very, very disconcerting, honestly. And it's where we're heading, and it's where we are, unfortunately. The end result of this type of censorship, however, quite likely will not bring about the feared Soviet-style clampdown on ideas that challenge the establishment. It's more reasonable to expect that these companies have fallen prey to monopolistic hubris, and will soon see massive declines in viewership, collapsing stock prices, and the revolt of angry shareholders. In other words, these companies are shooting themselves in the feet. That said, the current social, political, and media climate in America today is likely to bring about a rise of a far more insidious and dangerous type of censorship, self-censorship. And so the Cambridge Dictionary defines self-censorship as the control of what you say or do in order to avoid annoying or offending others, but without being told officially that such control is necessary. And Wikipedia defines it as the act of censoring or classifying one's own discourse. This is done out of fear of or deference to the sensibilities or preferences, actual or perceived, of others, and without overt pressure from any specific party or institution of authority. In other words, self-censorship is voluntarily silencing oneself out of fear of unofficial reprisal. That reprisal can come in many forms, soft and hard, but at its most fundamental level, it involves the fear of what others will think of you, or say to you, or do to you, if they don't like what you hear, what they hear. And it's so damn true. And this, I haven't covered this before, but other people have. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. Did an author from the 1800s predict the Trumps, Russia, and America's downfall? Very interesting, as you see Baron Trump with Donald Trump, of course. Ingersoll Lockwood, an American political writer, lawyer, and novelist, combined a unique mixture of science fiction and fantasy in his novels from the late 1800s. Two of his most popular works of literature were illustrated children's stories focusing on a peculiar fictional character whose name rings a bell in 2017, Baron Trump. Trump, an aristocratically wealthy young man living in Castle Trump, is the protagonist of Lockwood's first two fictional movies, The Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and his wonderful dog Bulger, and Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey. The little boy, who has an unending imagination and a very active brain, is bored of the luxurious lifestyle he has grown so accustomed to. In a twist of fate, Trump visits Russia to embark on an extraordinary adventure that will shape the rest of his life. Lockwood's final novel arrived in 1896, entitled The Last President. And you can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. And there are PDFs for this as well everywhere. And it's not very big. There are some incredible connections to be made to the first family of the United States in Lockwood's novels from the turn of the 19th century. For starters, the main character's name is the same as President Donald Trump's son, albeit spelled differently. Trump's adventures begin in Russia and are guided thanks to directions provided by the master of all masters, a man named Don. Before leaving for his voyage through the unknown, Trump is told of his family motto: "The pathway to glory is strewn with pitfalls and dangers." Illustrations from the novel depict Trump dressed in lavish, old-fashioned clothing and jewelry as he departs from Castle Trump and begins his voyage, heading to Russia to locate an entrance into alternate dimensions. But by Lockwood's third novel, The Last President, things become even more eerily linked to the present day. The story begins with a scene from a panicked New York City in early November, describing a state of uproar after the election of an enormously opposed outsider candidate. The entire East Side is in a state of uproar. Police officers shouted through the streets, warning city folk to stay indoors for the night. Mobs of vast size are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists and threaten to plunder and despoil the houses of the rich who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. The Fifth Avenue Hotel will be the first to feel the fury of the mob. The novel continues, citing an address in New York City where Trump Tower now stands. You can't make this up. Can you believe this? Would the troops be there in time to save Trump Tower? Amazing stuff. And some of this is from 1893's Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. The narrator's name is Don. Lockwood's creations have resurfaced online in recent weeks on forums and Reddit, thanks to a number of 4chan users who started using images and conspiracy theories about fantasy stories. Some claim the Trump family possesses a time machine that has allowed them to remain powerful to this day. The Last President doesn't follow the same fictional narrative of Lockwood's previous novels, though the links to Trump are once again abundantly clear. The president's hometown of New York City is fearing the collapse of the Republic in this book, also titled 1900. Immediately following the transition of presidential power, some Americans began forming a resistance, protesting what was seen as a corrupt and unethical election process. And there's a little video there. A filmmaker and Trump supporter named Lee Scott is now trying to crowdsource funding to create a fantasy feature film, saying he's a huge fan of trolling. "Even though I work in Hollywood, I actually support President Trump," Scott says in a promotional video for his project. The book has tons of strange references to the modern day, but we can actually amp that up a bit and put things that only we see as Trump supporters and we who are on the internet all the time really understand and appreciate. So, what do you guys make of that? Is that not crazy? Is that not like wild? And I know a lot of you probably already have seen this, but it's just, wow, crazy stuff. And so this is IC.org, and this is intentionalcommunities.org. So many of you are interested in intentional communities, and this is a listing of intentional communities actually all over. And here you can see there are a ton of them. And this will give you info, and it is all around the world that these are available. This will give you info on individual intentional communities. And we have talked about that a lot. And as we can see, there are quite a few. And just even here in Florida. So it'll give you info, and you can go check out what is up with each particular one. Talks about a mission statement like this one here in Sarasota, Florida, and it's got the infamous anonymous mask, the Guy Fawkes mask. In case of revolution, break glass. Wow. Now this one's vegan and a sustainable living. And would you like to live in a vegan veggie community house in sunny Sarasota, Florida? So they're all different. Some of these are just tiny. Some of them are much, much bigger, with perhaps up to hundreds of people. And some of them, you could actually work on. Some of them are more of a missionary type of community. But I just thought I would share this with you guys so you could take a peek. And if any of you are interested, take a look at what's in your area. Take a look at what's in any area that you might want to go to or be in, and see if there's anything that tickles your fancy, my friends. So as always, please do thumbs up to support the channel, subscribe, and join our family. Let's get past that 30,000 subscriber range. We're so very close right now, and do click the bell to get all the updates. Share with as many people as possible. So let's keep waking people up to everything that's going on as we prepare for these times to even get a little bit more intense, as we know they are going to. But we will band together, we will pull each other up, we will lift each other up, and we will face the times ahead with determination and with love and compassion and understanding for what everybody is going through. So my friends, may you be blessed with abundant peace, love, happiness, all good things. God bless, my friends, and namaste.